Hidden below the depths around our own homes and gardens, treasure could be waiting to be found. Many of us could be sitting on an absolute fortune and have no idea. Ancient relics, gold, jewelry, and much more has been found by people exploring their own yards and gardens. Even some bizarre items that have huge historical implications have been unearthed. Today we're going to look at the various treasures that were accidentally discovered by people on their own property, as well as how much money their buried fortune is worth. Grab your metal detectors and let's get started. Well, we start off our list with an item that wasn't exactly found in someone's backyard, but honestly, the find is so amazing that we had to include it. In 2000, a massive boulder of nephrite jade was discovered by miners in British Columbia, Canada. Its weight came to 18 tons. For comparison, that's the weight of 2.5 African bush elephants. The people that found the wedge of jade decided to hold on to it. They stated that they didn't want to sell it on to be turned into bangles. Yet one day they got a phone call from an American. They wanted to turn the boulder into a Buddhist statue. The boulder was then carved into a 4-ton statue. But that's not all. The statue had to be transported to the Buddhist monument, the Great Stupa of Universal Compassion. It took boats, trucks, cranes, and a floating pontoon to transfer the statue across the world. One of the trucks was even involved in an accident. Yet both the driver and the statue were fine, and it made it safely to the statue's new home. In 2019, Adam Staples and Lisa Grace were exploring an unplowed field with metal detectors in Somerset, England. There, they found a cache of coins worth £5 million, about 6.1 million US dollars. The coins date back 1,000 years, and they were created during the reign of the last Anglo-Saxon ruler, King Harold II. He perished in 1066 during the Battle of Hastings. As he was only king for 9 short months, coins from that period are incredibly rare to find. Staples and Grace discovered 2,571 silver coins altogether, many of which were in mint condition. The valuation of the coins is between £1,000 to £5,000 each. It's believed that a wealthy owner had hidden their coins for safekeeping. After all, banks as they are today didn't exist during that point in time. But for whatever reason, the original owner never recovered their wealth. Instead, they lay in wait for centuries. The ancient coins were later handed over to the British Museum for cataloging and assessment. Any money that Staples and Grace received from their find will be split with the owner of the field that they were searching in. One day in 2016, Luke Irwin was working on his house in Wiltshire, England. As he was laying down some electrical cables in the farmhouse, he discovered an untouched mosaic. After his find, more excavation was undertaken. After 8 days, they found the remains of a Roman villa under Irwin's property. It's believed that the villa was created sometime between 175 and 220 CE, but it has evidence of being remodeled in the 4th or 5th century. Due to its size and complexity, the villa seems to have belonged to a wealthy family. The archaeologists also found evidence of oyster shells in the villa. That helps to establish the villa's wealthy narrative. There's even a reconstruction drawing of what the villa would have looked like in its prime. Along with the property itself, there were other relics collected. Coins, brooches, and animal bones were also found, as well as pottery that's been described as extremely high status. There was also a coffin that was identified from being created in the same period. However, Irwin and his family were using it to plant flowers in. Every day, an unnamed couple in California would walk their dog on their rural property for several years. Yet in 2013, the walk would be a little different. They spotted a tree with something glinting in the soil beneath. As they got closer, they found a rusted can poking out of the soil. They struggled due to its heavy weight, but eventually freed it from the earth. As they walked back to their house with the can, they saw gold coins inside. They returned with tools to the tree and dug into the soil. Altogether, they found 8 cans filled with gold coins. 1,427 coins in total, making it the biggest collection of discovered coins in America. The coins are dated between 1847 and 1894. The face value of the coins was $27,988. However, after they were assessed, the discovery was worth an astounding $10 million today. Many of the coins were either in mint condition or uncirculated, which raised their value significantly. As for how the coins got there, it's a bit of a mystery. It could be due to a thief storing their haul for safekeeping, only the thief never collected the coins again for some reason. In 1978, some children were playing and digging in the mud on a street in Los Angeles. Then they hit something hard under the ground that felt like the roof of a car. The kids quickly flagged down a couple of sheriffs and told them about what they had found. The sheriffs got together a group of people and a skip loader to help dig into the soil. They found a 1974 green-colored Dino 246 GTS Ferrari within the earth. Apparently, it was in surprisingly good condition. The car was valued at $18,000 at the time. Today, the car can go for at least hundreds of thousands of dollars online. The story for how the car was buried is interesting. A few years previously, in 1974, the exact same car was reported stolen. It seems that the thieves had hidden the Ferrari until the search had cooled down. However, that might not be the full story. Seems the original owner may have conspired with the thieves to commit insurance fraud. However, with the lack of evidence, nothing's been proven. The car was later sold at auction and restored to its original glory years later. In 1913, Canadian lawyer David Faskin purchased 227,000 acres near Midland, Texas. Later, the area would be called Faskin, after the land's owner. For all that land, Faskin paid $1.50 per acre, costing him around $340,500. With inflation, that's a little under $9 million today. He purchased the land to turn it into a cattle farm. However, there was too little water to make the farm a success. Faskin passed away 16 years later, yet the land Faskin purchased was incredibly rich with oil and gas. Today, the Faskin land is part of the Permian Basin, an oil-rich area covering Texas and New Mexico. The Faskin heirs have land worth an immense $7 billion. They founded the company Faskin Oil and Ranch in 1979, once the oil was discovered on their land. Many big companies that dabble with oil and gas have attempted to purchase the land from the Faskin family. However, the Faskins have so far rejected any offers to sell. Currently, the Faskins are one of the biggest private landowners in America. During 1978, Gary Johnson found a large rock as he was hiking in California. With an interest in archaeology, Johnson felt that this rock was something important. He saw some kind of bone pattern on the rock, but it weighed over 1,000 pounds. Over the course of a few days, he and his friends moved the boulder to his house. Johnson then invited an expert to check the rock for its significance. However, the expert said it wasn't anything special. So for the next 35 years, the rock stayed in the back garden. In 2014, Johnson saw a news article about an important fossil found near where he discovered his big rock. So he called the National History Museum. They realized that the rock was actually a 16-million-year-old fossil. It contained the skull and jawbone of a baleen whale. It's believed that there are only 20 fossilized baleen specimens in the world. It took many months for the museum and the sheriff's department to come up with a plan to move the gigantic fossil. Eventually, 10 volunteers dragged the massive fossilized rock onto a truck from Johnson's house. It was then taken to California's Natural History Museum for further study. One day in 2018, Anthony Dolan was exploring his 16.5-acre property in Brisbane, Australia, and he was in his back garden when he came across a big hole in the ground. Immediately, images of Indiana Jones flashed across Dolan's mind. When he purchased the property, there was no mention of this big hole. He then did some research on what this hole could be, and it turns out it was an entrance into a gold mine. In the late 1890s, the hills of Brisbane were a prime location for mining activity. Dolan's shaft is about 20 feet deep. However, Dolan hasn't explored the mine himself. At the time, he was in the midst of selling the property. As a result, Dolan was never able to see if any gold was lying in wait. The property was sold on to new owners for the same $1.6 million that Dolan had paid 3 years prior. Perhaps the new owners have taken a look within the gold mine. Or maybe Dolan had seen the mine and it was empty. Seeing an opportunity to increase the property's value, he could have added the mystique of there being possible gold within. Farmer Pete Watling was working in a field in Suffolk, England during 1992. However, he dropped his hammer in the grass. Watling contacted his friend Eric Laws, who had a metal detector, to help him locate the missing tool. As the two searched, they found something far more valuable than the hammer. They found silver spoons, gold jewelry, and gold and silver coins. Straight away, they called the local council and the landowner. An emergency excavation was underway. They dug a radius of 98 feet around where they found the other items. In a day, excavation was complete. They found over 15,000 Roman relics altogether, which dated back to 407 CE. The discovery included 569 gold coins, over 14,000 silver coins, 24 bronze coins, 98 spoons and ladles, and many more items. They even found Watling's hammer, which was donated to the British Museum. At the time, in 1992, the hoard was valued at £1.75 million, about $2.15 million US. With inflation, that's £3.65 million, or about $4.5 million today. As for the reason why these items were buried, nobody knows exactly. Pop what you think the reason is below in the comments. In 2013, Colleen and Chris Otkasik bought a new house in California. As they explored their new property, they found a concealed hole in the ground in their backyard. It even had a ladder and went 15 feet deep underground. They explored where it went and discovered an untouched, hidden fallout shelter built in 1961. The owner of the property at the time was a nuclear engineer named Alvin Kaufman. He built the shelter in response to the rising tension between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. The shelter was big enough that the 4-person-sized Kaufman family could fit inside comfortably. The shelter remained undisturbed for 50 years. It was filled with many items popular during the 60s. Enough supplies were inside to sustain the Kaufmans for a few weeks at least. Such supplies as non-perishable food, medicine, household items, and clothing were stocked within. In case they needed entertainment, there were board games and many copies of Analog, Science Fiction and Fact magazine. So far, the Otkasiks have no plans with the shelter, but they want it to remain as a time capsule forever. And that's it. Which of these finds are most impressive? Are you going to explore your homes for hidden treasures now? We know we will. Pop your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked this video, please give it a like and share.